Sagittarius, this is your June 2025 soul story. If you have a sun rising or your moon is in the sign, this is your reading. It's Romy here. Thank you so much for joining me on the channel. I appreciate you. So we're going to open up for you with the energy of the Seven of Wands. Now, I think that there is a realization for you that perhaps it's not about the quick fixes and that maybe this is going to ask a little bit more of you than you had originally anticipated. However, you have been preparing for this. And really, the last 6 months since that new moon in your sign at the end of 2024 has made one thing incredibly clear to you, and it's that you really have to make your own rules right now. You know, nothing external is slowing down, and it would be really easy to get caught up in the chaos of that. And so, you know, your invitation is about how you intend to move forward and finding some structure and some foundations amidst that chaos and really allowing yourself to do it your way. That is how I see you being able to take on the challenges that you are being faced with this season, but also almost like honing your skill. It's like shaping you into being so, and I don't want to use the phrase battle ready, because I don't think it's a battle, but it's just like primed and prepped and able to take something on. Okay, now the nice thing about June is I feel that there is a flow that's working purposefully and positively for us to be able to tap into. That's not to say it's not without its challenge. Mid-month, we're definitely going to have some interesting trigger points coming up. But in the beginning of the month, we've got Venus shifting into Taurus on the 5th. And a reminder here actually to, you know, to keep showing up with consistency and to be doing it in a really nourishing way and with kindness and compassion for yourself. And that you are going to see the results and you are going to see the rewards. And I think you're going to find the beauty in something, you know, early on in the month. Mercury also moves into Cancer. And so, you know, we're moving into this experience of the gut feel being really something that we're able to place our trust in. Now, of course, big news happening in June is that Jupiter is coming out of Gemini and making its way into Cancer, exalted in this sign. And, you know, moving from this thinking to feeling energy, you know, can feel like a little bit of a sea change moment. Now, you've got the Tower here, but to me, it's almost like the breakthrough that you find to be able to overcome the challenge. Okay, so even if you feel like a lot is landing, and sometimes that can be very much happening on the internal, because one thing is for sure, the revelations and the realizations just keep coming. And, you know, you've probably never felt growth like it in yourself before. Now, remember, you know, in Gemini energy, we're 7th house for you. So it's also about what is being mirrored back to you. Now, this is what I'm saying. We can find structure in the chaos, but perhaps what we need to do in that eventuality is to also maybe reset a particular foundation in order that we can feel a bit more supported and safe with regards to something. Jupiter will expand and amplify where it places its gaze. And so, you know, if something is off and not working, you're going to feel that more, but you're also going to get this bounty and this boost. Now, for you, it's going to activate your 8th house. And so there's a sense of that kind of almost like that rebirth energy that's being really highlighted and embraced, I think, over the course of the next year. We build to the new moon, the full moon in your sign on the 11th, Sagittarius. And this is an interesting one because, you know, as you arrive at this point, and of course this is an energy that serves you, working with you. We've got Judgment. You see, I was expecting something heavy to come in like this. Not heavy in the sense of like difficult, but just I think the enormity of something really comes close to home for you. And maybe it's, you know, about coming to terms with where you've allowed something for so long. Maybe it's coming from a place of like knowing that this is the time where the decision has to be made. Maybe it's about the impact, you know, of what is going on around you and how it's going to shift or change your life. But, you know, regardless, judgment arises from a perspective of wanting to afford you a sense of freedom, because it's coming with the Tower, and the Tower is about that liberating feeling, but it does impact on the status quo. So anything that has felt like it's been rooted or anchored, is maybe getting a little bit rearranged and reordered, if you like. Now remember, we've got this flow energy in June. So, there is ways to be sort of riding that wave and feeling in some ways less affected by it than if you were almost allowing it to kind of overwhelm you, in the sense that you felt powerless. And I think there might be moments, where you have that sense. But what I'm going to tell you is that, the mid-month, we've got some tense triggering energy. We've got Mars and Leo squaring Uranus and Taurus on the 15th. And here, the conversation is about security versus freedom. We also have Jupiter newly in Cancer squaring Saturn, which is newly in Aries as of last month. And so what we find ourselves at is a kind of crossroads moment, a critical point where there's something old that we're revisiting and also something new that's being added to the conversation. We may feel somewhat backed into a corner or slightly challenged with something. However, what transpires as a result of that is, honestly, I feel you saying, enough is enough. I'm doing this my way. I'm, making my own rules with regards to this. It cannot be any other way but mine. And it feels like that's the win-win-win for you. Now, remember, Sagittarius, most regrets come from not what you have tried, but rather what you didn't give yourself the opportunity to experience. And like I said, it's not about a quick fix now. There is this realization that perhaps something is going to ask a little bit more of you, but that doesn't mean you're not capable. That doesn't not mean, you're not prepared and you're not ready for this. And what I really think that full moon is also going to give you is the courage and the confidence to see that actually something that you have also been working and dedicating and committing to is now coming into a place where it's almost like you can take a step back from that, or that you can sort of say, right, I've got that to a place where it feels like it's in a better state, a better energy. And that could be, well, a relationship that has had to have a lot of your focus and attention. Or it could be something, a specific project that's felt like you've been almost married to, you've been so invested and kind of participating in this, and it's taken and asked a lot of you. But I feel this full moon is a sort of point of allowing it now to sort of move forward on its own a little bit, or to just take a step back and almost see, the reward and the result of all that energy and time that's been put into it. So that's also going to help you where you're then being pulled elsewhere, okay? Now, what I do have to say is I think that a close relationship for you in the month of June is also changing, and it's going to be hard not to want to cling on to that, in terms of how it has been up to this point. But what I see is that it needs to evolve. It needs to become something different to what it has been. And that's the season for this to happen. And, that doesn't have to be like heartbreaking. It doesn't have to be upsetting. It's not necessarily that this person is gone from your life, but how this relationship has, has worked, and how you've been showing up and how the interactions have unfolded is not what it's going to be like moving forward these coming weeks and months. And I think that realization as well might be something that you just need to process and sit with for a time. The thing that I think is really driving this, though, and I want to be clear about that, Sagittarius, is that there was some kind of imbalance. Now, not necessarily that they weren't giving what you were investing, but just actually what it was asking of you, or how it was changing you, or how it was distracting or impacting you, needs to be resolved, because there is so much coming online at this point that you are now kind of urgently needing to address for yourself, because it holds opportunity and it holds progress in your unique design and your unique blueprint. And so that reciprocity and balance needs to be achieved. And there's almost a sliding door moment, I think, when we're working through 7th house, that sort of sees some of the faces shifting and changing, especially closest to us. But I also think it gives you the opportunity to reevaluate the type of support that you need. And maybe you were asking support of this person and they were the wrong one. You know, they weren't the one that was ever going to be able to give you what you needed. So perhaps that responsibility that you placed on them, or that ask, or that desire is then shifted. And then that allows that relationship to form into what it's really meant to be in your life, what it's supposed to be at this point. Now, we've got our Four of Pentacles, which I like because it brings us that stronger foundation that I said you're going to need to then move forward. But we do have her kind of holding her throat chakra a little bit. So there's some sense of like holding back, but I think it's the realization of what or whom has been holding you back. And again, you know, that can hit quite hard when, you know, when we come to the terms with sort of what that's meant for us. And, you know, I also want to sort of say to you, you know, you're not too late for anything. Like however much time or energy or whatever has been invested that you're now reviewing and reflecting upon, you know, this is the sea change moment. That judgment comes in with a major choice or decision or a life-altering experience that's set to shift the horizon for you in quite a powerful way. When we come out of that sort of tense mid-month and all of that epiphany energy from the full moon has landed for you, what we can see is a more stabilizing experience. And actually, particularly from like an abundance perspective, if that's a notable concern or focus for you through the course of this month, you're steady, you know, you're holding balance, okay? And you know, there can be improvements with regards to that as well. It may feel like you have to work a bit harder in order to get what you need or what you desire, what you want, but that's okay, because again, you've also been preparing for that in regards to some things. I think it's also the realization that you need to, you know, be around those that are going to help you to feel brave, right? That are going to support the big heart truths that you hold at the moment, okay? That's the thing that's going to give you the energy to keep persevering. Your Ten of Wands is saying like we're almost there, but sometimes the last mile can be the hardest with something. Mars shifting into Virgo on the 17th kind of helps you to look at some of the details, and it's maybe just a couple of fine-tuned moments, you know, where we just have to make small adjustments and you're going to see big results as you sort of take that on. So keep that in mind around that time of the month. The 18th, Jupiter and Neptune create some sort of confusion, and you may feel like you're taking on more. You know, it's almost just like you end up in a conversation and you agree to something that you thought was going to improve your terms, and then all of a sudden it feels like you've come away from it thinking, I've just signed up to something that I didn't want or I wasn't anticipating. You're going to be able to go back over and rectify that, okay? So don't be concerned. I think that whatever it is that you've been pursuing or that you've had to endure and that you've had to put up with and manage, and it's had that pressure over you for some time, I think it's going to be worth it. I think it's going to be worth it. And you're at the point now of just saying, okay, I'm ready to move on and release this. So it's, you know, a really beautiful time for you in terms of that release energy. And as we move into Cancer season and we have that 8th house landing, remember there's themes around separation, you know, shifting of resources, shifting of relationships, but in a way that affords you more freedom and expansion and that rebirth to come in and happen. Of course, we've got solstice arriving on the 20th as the sun shifts into Cancer. And again, that can be a really important ritualistic time to just sort of reset intentions and to just come back into the flow and the harmony. And this is how I feel June's going to play out. It's sort of that sense of like you find the flow, you're in the slipstream, and then you kind of get yanked out and you have to face and deal with something, and then you jump back in and you find your flow again, and then you're yanked back out. But overall, the progress and the way that you're sort of managing and how you're feeling about what is happening around you is, you know, from a far more capable, far more brave, far more heart-centered place, okay? Huge growth for you through the course of this month. And from solstice to the build-up of the new moon in Cancer on the 25th, you know, something quite special actually coming in for you, and a reminder that it's never too late. I think that's the sort of message that's going to come through. So maybe something that you'd almost given up on, right? You'd almost thought this is not happening, comes good. All right. So you've got something coming good in and around that energy, particularly the 24th, 25th. So keep that in mind. You know, June can be an incredibly important month for you. It is going to feel different to anything that you've gone through in the first 5 months of this year. And, you know, that's deliberate. It's like the transition is now moving toward more of the new path, more of the new you, more of the new version. And so it is going to feel really different. There's going to be a lot of things that come up that you've never encountered, you've never felt, you've never considered before. And you know, that can be quite a lot to take on. But remember, Seven of Wands is about overcoming the challenges. You're going to be victorious in this, and you do have what it takes because you've been shaped, you know, in order to be fully prepared for this moment. So your capacity to hold more light is absolutely here in a really sacred way. Yeah. Now, if you're new to the channel, the last 3 cards we're going to look at in the extended reading, you can find the link below. I hope you'll join me. We'll talk for another 25 minutes or so. We'll look at a personal and a relationship card for you as well, Sagittarius. I'm just going to clarify the cards. Let's see where we're going to take this. We've got the energy of the world and the moon. Some strong majors coming through for you this June. The Hierophant coming in and the Queen of Swords. I love her focus for you, you know, and I think that is absolutely what you're going to want to ensure. Another 4 of Pentacles and another 6. How interesting. We get the same clarification coming through there. What we have here, the Knight and the 8 of Swords. Now, please do check out romywiser.com. Over on my website, you're going to find ways to have a personal reading with me. You are going to find my Sacred Trilogy, which is my oracle deck, my book, and my journal. Also, all of my Sacred Soul support and membership details. And on my reports, right, you can find out about my goddess energies. We've got Pallas Athena going retrograde in Aquarius on the 9th, and Vesta is stationing direct in Scorpio on the 14th. Also my new astrocartography, so really helping you with locational astrology, fascinating insights in your top power places, so it's worth checking out. Let's have a look at the oracle deck. So this is my deck, and we're just going to add this to our reading. We've got Mirrors of the Mind, the Sun, Charged in Light. We've got Equinox coming through, strong luminaries showing up here, Soul Stories, Soothe Your Soul, Karmic Cause and Effect. You know, sometimes we have those months, I think 25 is like it in the whole year, to be honest, but sometimes we have those months where we just feel like, you know, we're being carried, something so destined, fate has stepped into our pathway. And even if we keep trying to turn right, you know, we're almost frog marched to turn left. It's just like, not that we don't have free will, but there is a powerful force that is guiding, I think, a lot of what transpires through the course of June for you. Okay, so our oracles, we have Celestial Waters, and we're going to pull one more for Sagittarius. What do we have? Love, the Taj Mahal in India. That's beautiful, those doves coming through there. Right, I'm going to leave it here. Thank you for joining me. I hope you'll come on to the extended and have a great month of June. Enjoy solstice. I'm going to see you again next time.